On the 5th anniversary with Emily, I overheard her chatting with her childhood friend about me. "Oh, Edward's great, but he's not handsome. Kinda embarrassing to bring him out." Later, her handsome first love, Stephen, returned from abroad. She went on a late-night car race with him and got seriously injured while trying to save him. And I handed her the divorce papers, quietly, just like always, no fights, no arguments. When she stared at the papers, her look was a mix of sadness and mockery. "Edward, you really never loved me, did you?" Emily had gotten drunk again. I got the call just after wrapping up some work. It was midnight. I drove to the largest bar in a city. The top floor hallway was quiet, making the noise from the room stand out. "Edward's nice everywhere but his looks. It's embarrassing to take him out." Emily's voice was lazy, lifeless, like a stagnant pool. I pushed the door open. It fell silent for a moment. Her childhood friend nudged her. "Emily, your husband's here to take you home." Emily looked up lazily and suddenly smiled, reaching out to me. "Hubby, let's go home." Who knows how many times this has happened. Last time, she turned sour-faced over rumors about Stephen and some actress. Before that, she left a shareholders' meeting early because of gossip about Stephen. And today, she stormed out in the middle of negotiations with a client, leaving me to apologize on her behalf. So what was it this time? I nodded to the others, supporting her as most of her weight leaned into me. Someone suddenly called out to me, hesitating, "Hey, Stephen's back. Be careful." I nodded, didn't say much. "So, she's acting crazy again 'cause Stephen's back?" "Edward," she murmured, half drunk, half sober, "he's back." The breeze coming through the slightly open window was chilly. She sobered up a few seconds later, glancing at me, and chuckled. "Edward, you're really boring." It's the second time she's called me boring today. I guess the interesting one is back. I just nodded, not defending myself. This was typical for Emily and me. She made sure everyone knew how much she despised me, while I responded to all her outbursts with silence. She looked down on me, thought I wasn't good-looking, gentle, or interesting. She could list 100 things wrong with me. Our marriage was just following her grandfather's last wish. According to her, if my dad hadn't worked for her family as a driver and died in an accident, and if her grandfather hadn't pitted me and taken me in, I'd probably have gone to an ordinary college, got a 9-to-5 job, and marry an ordinary woman. No chance of meeting someone from her world, let alone marrying the family's only heir. But when her grandfather fell ill, everyone hoped to snatch a piece of the family business. Her uncles and aunts were eyeing it greedily. The stock price kept plummeting, and a large asset was seized by the government, nearly driving the company to bankruptcy. Back then, Emily was chasing Stephen abroad. Her phone was off and no one could reach her, until I found her in a foreign apartment, drunk. I had the bodyguards tie her up. She'd never suffered like this before, bound and pinned to the ground, glaring at me with furious eyes. Her grandfather forced Stephen to break up with her, and when ill, his only wish was for me and Emily to marry. "Emily, I didn't know how you charmed Grandpa, but I'll never fall for you or marry you." I remembered that young girl at 17, sitting on the sofa and kissing my lips. "Edward, I kinda like you." That stirred my heart, but then brutally cut off. I sat on the sofa slowly. Grandpa's temporarily handed the reins to me. "If you don't marry me today, I can't guarantee your beloved's company will remain untouched." Meeting her resentful gaze, I continued softly. "Maybe you inherited your dad and Grandpa's business acumen. You are a raw gem, but the company can't wait for you to grow. You can cling to your shares and watch others devour it and walk away. Keep living your high life." She stared at me in shock, ultimately choosing to come back and marry me. Raised by her grandpa, I was trained to be an heir. Post-graduation, he guided me hands-on. Emily didn't get along with him since childhood, never taking a shine to any of this. I needed the perfect opportunity to rightfully take over the company. Marrying Emily was the fastest way. When her grandfather passed away, Emily and I maintained an outward appearance of a loving couple. In those turbulent years when the company was shaky, even Emily matured rapidly. She truly inherited the business savviness of her grandpa and father, decisive, ruthless. Until we dealt with the family threats, stabilized the company, she reverted to her lazy self. After that, Emily disappeared for weeks, but the PR team managed to suppress several stories of her and Stephen together. When my assistant placed another picture of Emily and Stephen dining together in front of me, I dialed her number, the sound on the other end noisy, mixed with wind and her soft laughter. "Hubby," she said, and tears suddenly threatened to fall. I looked up, fought back the tears. "Emily, the company's stable now. Grandpa's wish is fulfilled. Our marriage wasn't my choice either. If your guy's back, we can divorce." Back in the day, Emily and Stephen's romance was the talk of the town. If not for him being forced to leave, they might have married. Even now, I see another man stir her emotions. Her voice grew cold over the phone. "So, what are you trying to say?" As the wind on the phone grew louder, I felt a sudden unease. "Emily, where are you?" The call abruptly ended. A sharp pain twisted in my stomach. Bent over the desk, a cold sweat broke out. In the glass reflection, I saw my pale face. Seems like my stomach issues are acting up again. I closed my eyes. In that instant, sadness just pours in. Things that aren't really mine. I know I'll have to return one day. I'm hurting so much it's like my mind is foggy. Somehow, I start thinking about the first time I met Emily. She was 14, standing tall with a pretty face, her head buried in her hoodie. She had a sour look and didn't want to say a word to me. Turns out, she was only picking me up because her grandpa bribed her with allowance money. The trip was long, and I got carsick, puking all over the place until my stomach was empty. She reached over and handed me a warm bottle of milk. I remember her hand. It seemed to glow in that dim space. We ended up going to the same school. At first, she didn't hate me like she does now. She'd bike me to school, 'cause I was so carsick. When I got locked in a bathroom as a prank, she searched the whole school until she found me. Then suddenly, flash forward to a lazy, trouble-making teen pulling my hair. "I'm going to the internet cafe this afternoon. If you snitch, you're dead." Then, for some reason, she threw her arm around my shoulder. "Just to be safe, you should come with me." So we went, with her gaming while I plodded through homework. We got home later as expected, and she got punished again. The night was cold in the front yard. She knelt there but gave me a little wink. I never really got why she always wanted to challenge Grandpa. The year we graduated middle school, our class went to the beach to see fireworks. I got left behind on the deserted road. I walked along for who knows how long until Emily rode up on her bike, looking super worried. Her concern felt genuine. I've always remembered how worried she looked, the dirt on her clothes, her voice with a hint of panic. "Edward, you scared me to death." "Edward, are you scared?" I leaned against her thin back, my heart pounding. Another memory hit me. 17-year-old Emily sitting on the carpet. Pines outside the window covered in snow, the room's all cozy. She tilted her head up and kissed me. "Edward, I think I kinda like you." I stared at her long lashes, feeling like crying. That's how we stumbled into a relationship. After that, I tried harder. I learned the commercial stuff Emily hated from Grandpa, completing tasks he gave me, aiming to be his perfect grandkid. Grandpa was more and more pleased, got me etiquette lessons, and introduced me to everyone with pride, calling me his favorite grandson. It only took 2 years to go from a timid, scared boy to a decisive, smart professional. Grandpa wanted a well-matched grandson-in-law, a noble and handsome guy from a good family. I was never part of that ideal. He needed power alliances. I had to muster all my courage to finally stand before him, asking for a chance to be with her. "Grandpa, would you consider me?" He seemed surprised I'd say that, but eventually sighed. "Edward, this path is hard. One day you might see Emily as a foolish brat and regret this choice." I looked down, voice a bit hoarse. "I'm not scared. I got busier with more to learn." Seeing Emily was less frequent. Whenever we met, she was either just punished by Grandpa or on the way to punishment. Emily started hating me then. She moved out and we saw each other even less. Later, during a school badminton match, she specifically asked me to bring her water. I looked up from my book and caught her smiling eyes. "You're my boyfriend, right? Other boyfriends bring water." That match was awesome. I was all happy, but she just ran into the arms of a boy out of nowhere. Didn't you hear? Emily got with the school heartthrob yesterday. Why's anyone trying to break them up? Malice came in waves, full of disdain and ridicule. I slowly pulled my hand back, the cold bottle numbing me all over. I just stared at Emily, saw that mocking look in her eyes. Is that how it is? I stepped closer, looking up at her. Her smile was harsh, blatant in its cruelty. Her arrogance was obvious. Edward, you didn't really think I liked you, did you? Just a leech in my family thinking he's part of it. She tapped my forehead. Wake up, idiot. Think it through. Would I like you? You just seemed super pitiful. Time makes it hard to recall how I felt then, but the feeling of being an outsider, worried about annoying others, failing at boring, complex stuff, none of that hurt as much as her eyes did that day, cutting right into me, flooding with cold. It was so cold. I tilted my head, smiling. Then Emily, let's break up. Emily later said I reminded her of Grandpa, cold and indifferent. I guess she's right. Old me couldn't have calmly faced the humiliation from a girl I liked. Emily got into an accident once. Emergency surgery. When the call ended, I saw a headline on my phone. Stephen seen distraught at the hospital after crashing during a race. Comments were buzzing, asking who made Stephen so upset. Hands shaking. I clicked in, seeing a tied red string on a wrist in the ambulance. Emily got hers the 3rd year we married, asking for safety. Mine was locked away in a drawer. I called one of her usual buddies, piecing it all together. There was a small club race tonight. Emily and Stephen were both racing. During it, they crashed into another car. Emily's injuries were so bad because she tried to protect Stephen in the passenger seat. Even over the phone, they sounded guilty. Man, I don't know how it happened, but it wasn't on purpose. With Emily's skills, she should have dodged that car. In the dim parking lot, I rested my head on the steering wheel for a while before driving home. Once there, I turned on the lights and set the AC to its lowest. I curled up under the covers and fell into a deep sleep. In my dream, it alternated between teenage Emily secretly holding my hand and her carrying me home drunk after a business deal. Then, it was Emily lying in the hospital with an uncertain fate. The dream scared me awake. It was already bright outside, and the delivery guy had already arrived. I got a message from my assistant. Emily's head injury was serious, but thankfully not life-threatening. At the hospital, Emily was out of danger. Through the glass door, I saw her pale face on the bed, her head wrapped in bandages. Her eyes were open, looking towards the window. Beneath it, a man slept on the couch, his black hair falling over his shoulder. I watched quietly, then turned and left. Inside, Emily seemed to sense something, but when she looked up, she saw nothing. I went to work as usual. My assistant updated me about Emily every day. For 7 days, we didn't exchange a word. She didn't reach out, and I didn't make the first move either. Assistant Xiaoqin glanced at me. Boss, things are slow at the company right now, no major meetings. Emily seems upset. Shouldn't you visit? I finished my work, nearly wrapping things up. At the bottom of the pile was a divorce agreement. Initially, I learned business management from my grandpa to keep up with Emily. But when the family fell apart, when that once authoritative man came to me for help, I had just one thought: to protect her. Grandpa had been good to me. Without him, I might have ended up like other town folks, dropping out of school, getting a regular job, marrying simply. After losing all family, he gave me a home. Grandpa was strict, but his eyes were mostly gentle when he looked at me. I gratefully accepted the warmth from someone not even blood-related and did everything to repay him. Emily and I faced many challenges in our early marriage. Sabotaged brakes, a collision with a truck, even an attacker in the mall. But those were our most heartfelt times. We trusted each other completely, inseparable day and night. Then I fell ill and was unconscious in the hospital. She climbed 1,000 steps to the temple to pray for me. She was so good that it made me think, perhaps mistakenly, she truly loved me. Then one day, drunk and speaking with resentment and sarcasm, she blurted, "Edward, you think I don't know you cozied up to Grandpa to marry me for money? You still think I like you? I stared at her drunken eyes, pulling a weak smile. Good thing I almost believed she loved me again. When I got home that afternoon, Emily was back from the hospital, slowly sipping porridge. The afternoon sun hit her shoulder as she looked at me with glimmers in her eyes. "Edward, always the busy one," she said with a snide tone. Ignoring her, I put down my bag and went to change. She followed, still marked with injuries. "Edward," she called several times, my growing impatience evident. She seemed almost hurt. "7 days in the hospital and you never visited." "Doctors help more than visits," I replied, avoiding eye contact. She lowered her head, half smirked but said nothing, turning away. After I finished showering, I saw her leaning on the couch, flipping through some papers. When she saw me, that brief smile quickly faded. "You're divorcing me?" she said, finding it a joke. I dried my hair, eyes still, and sat across from her. "I've arranged the property division through a lawyer. Your grandpa left you stocks, those are yours. The house was a gift from you under my name. I took what I earned," I explained. Still holding the divorce papers in her hand, she scoffed. Emotional breakdown? She looked at me suddenly, saying, "Sometimes you're just like Grandpa. Whether someone cries or acts up, it never bothers you. You stay detached as if it's someone else's problem, even if it's close to home." Grandpa was tough, old school, and believed in harsh teachings for boys. Being a girl, I was spared somewhat, though he humiliated me often. Emily never liked him. Yet, I felt even his harshest decisions were right, paving a way for Emily. He secured her financially before passing, even if she never married me. I never understood her resentment. Seeing me silent, Emily abruptly tore the divorce papers. Furious. "Edward, wasn't I good to you? I gave you everything, cared for you when sick, and tended to you lovingly. When have you seen me serve anyone like that? Edward, are you heartless?" Indeed, she was very kind to me back then. I remember when she decided to surprise me with a mountain hike in a neighboring state. The mountain was high. I eventually refused to move any further. The path was a paved road, not too steep. She grabbed my hand and pulled me forward, step by step. The wind was strong that night, and I was a bit drowsy. I could only vaguely hear her helpless voice. "Edward, you seem a bit thinner. Aren't you curious about the surprise?" I remember the cool breeze in the mountains that night, and the city lights below shimmering like stars. Fireworks were going off everywhere, brilliant and grand. "Honey," I turned my head to see a gentle kiss fall on my lips. City A is called the City of Fireworks, known for the most unique and beautiful displays. That year, we missed the beach fireworks, but at that moment, it felt complete. Emily can be a great lover when she's in love, but when she hates someone, she's brutal and mean. I snapped back to reality, trying to say something, but then I heard her soft, somewhat lost voice. "Maybe you won't believe this, but I really do love you." After she said that, her face turned suddenly pale, and she almost fainted right onto the sofa. I hurried to catch her, looking at the bandage on her head, feeling oddly like laughing. And so I did laugh. Just recently, she was acting like she was head over heels for Stephen, even getting hurt to protect him. I couldn't understand risking your life for someone. If that's not love, what is it? But now she's saying she loves me. "Emily, I talked to the doctor. He said you had 28 stitches on your head, barely missing a critical spot. You've lived a pampered life since you were young, scared of pain. The worst you'd ever felt was Grandpa giving you a little cut. So, I think you really love Stephen, willing to risk your life for him. You and he really seem made for each other. I've seen them eat together in the cafeteria, seen them criticized during flag-raising ceremonies for being a model of young love. Watched videos of their races in college. They match each other in looks and interests, both passionate and vivid. Standing there, they just look perfect together. In comparison, my times with Emily were dull, like plain water, casting a bleak contrast. Maybe not even Emily remembers that she and Stephen were the campus couple everyone shipped. In the shadowy corners behind their brightness was a boy with reddened eyes, head buried on his desk. Back then, he was trying to break up their relationship, a coward who got dumped and didn't have the guts to even ask why. With you and me, it's just a mutual delay. I even laughed a bit after saying that, but my heart felt surprisingly calm. Since the day we got married, I knew this day would come. Grandpa didn't agree to you and Stephen before. Now you can be with him. So what about us? I said, feeling helpless. Emily, we're not meant to be married. She silently looked at me, making my chest tighten with unease. She watched me, explaining the accident was on me, it was my distraction that caused it. I didn't want innocent people getting hurt, but it's not because of love. It's been 5 years. I stopped loving him long ago. You can't use this as a reason to divorce me. I looked down, mindlessly fiddling with my hair, waiting for her next words. I don't love him, Edward, I don't. She reached out and pulled me into a hug. I glanced at the wedding photo on the wall, hanging in the most visible spot in the living room. Even now, I can recall how I felt the first time I wore a wedding dress. There was a touch of youthful excitement, especially since I was marrying someone I'd liked since I was a girl. But Emily didn't like me then. Her face in that wedding photo, exquisite yet exceptionally cold, showed no hint of a smile. After the photo was taken, she even leaned into my ear to tease, Edward, I heard you never dated anyone all these years. Do you still like me? I just looked back at her, saying nothing. I knew that talking to someone like Emily, the more you say, the more she pushes. If you stay silent, she finds it boring and won't bother. I closed my eyes, whispering in her ear, Emily, if it's been 5 years and you don't like Stephen anymore, maybe in the next 5 years, learn to fall in love with someone new. Her body stiffened, and after a long moment, she pulled away, arms pressing against my shoulders. I quietly met her gaze, seeing nothing but her red eyes, until finally, she let out a sorrowful smile. Edward, you really never liked me. Emily and I parted on bad terms. She's been at the office lately while I finished handing over some work and went on a self-imposed vacation. I called up a friend to go shopping, something I rarely have time for. Ever since getting that top-notch education from Grandpa, I'd been on a strict schedule, either in class or on my way to the next lesson. After finally graduating early, I rushed to run the Edward family. I told Leo the first was going to divorce Emily. The handsome guy just smirked with a straw in his mouth. Good for you. We've been brothers for years, and he's the only one who knows the full story between Emily and me. After a while of wandering, we sat down on a park bench. The seasons changed drastically in Rongqing. It seemed like summer just days ago, but suddenly it shifted to autumn. I thought you'd try to stop me from getting divorced, I laughed. To everyone else, no matter how smart or capable I was, marrying Emily seemed like I was reaching too high. Leo leaned against my shoulder. Edward, since the first time I met you, you always seemed so tired. You act all nice, like you're everyone's friend. But inside, it's like there's this wasteland where nothing grows. You care too much about obligations, and you're terrified of losing the few connections tying you to this world. After breaking up with Emily in high school, I felt like I had the worst flu. As drained as I'd ever been, both physically and mentally. Piece by piece, it was unbearable. I would often cry under my covers at night, but each morning, I went back to learning the schedule Grandpa set. He put a lot of importance on me. I was the grandson he envisioned. Thoughtful, obedient, never defiant. I couldn't bear the look of disappointment in his eyes. So, I meticulously did everything he asked, always on edge, never slacking. So, Edward, happy divorce. She keeps tearing up the divorce papers, so I just keep sending them over. The moment she opens her eyes, she'll see the ones I've already signed. We've just been at a standoff like this for 2 months. Leo and I traveled all over the country. When I got back to my hometown, it was almost New Year's. The old house at home had been knocked down a few years ago and built a new 2-story white building. Emily kept sending me messages. Edward, do you care about me? Do you care about me? Edward, do you plan to stay with me forever like this? Honey, I miss you. The messages kept coming, filling up my whole phone screen. Edward, I'm sorry. I love you. Leo leaned over, took a look. She seems to like you a lot. Maybe. I toyed with the translucent white porcelain bottle in my hand, placing it on the table in the yard. I put a sunflower in it, But a person can like many people. In high school, she said she liked me. I believed her. Then got married, and she said she loved me many times. But in high school, she abandoned herself without hesitation, letting herself be a joke in others' eyes. After marriage, she was two-faced, thinking about Steven, even willing to risk her life for him. Her friends said, with Emily's driving skills, she couldn't possibly avoid the car. I guess it's probably just concern causing chaos. Moreover, she doesn't like me. Didn't she say she likes you? Leo smirked. Maybe she feels insulted because I asked for a divorce and wants to mess with me. Besides, I don't like her anymore. Edward. A weary and slightly angry voice sounded. I turned around and saw Emily, exhausted, her hair blown into a mess. Only her pair of pretty eyes stared at me. The scene strangely overlapped with the girl who picked me up to Grandpa's house 10 years ago. With the same grumpy face, as if someone owed her money. She spoke word by word. Edward, you were hard to find. Leo went back the day after Emily arrived. We both went to see him off. On the way back, we were unusually quiet, probably because it was close to New Year's. The town was full of people selling New Year goods, lanterns and couplets, all red as you could see. Very festive. Aren't you going back for New Year's? I broke the silence. Every year, Edward's family gets together for New Year's. All the branches come with their kids to Emily's to pay respects, have a meal and leave. Are you coming with me? She asked. I lowered my head, burying my face in my scarf, my voice with a hint of helplessness. Emily, I'm serious. I don't like you anymore. All these years, I've been grateful for what Edward's family has done for me. But Emily, I'm tired over these years. Ever since stepping into the study, I've been on edge, always having a tight string in my mind. A kid living under someone else's roof always watches people's expressions. I was always afraid of making a wrong move. Later, taking over the company, I never dared to slack, afraid one wrong decision would put the company at risk. Then my body broke down, fell seriously ill. That blow came untimely. The company was at an important bidding stage with another company. The illness came suddenly. Recovery took time. At that time, both my body and mind reached their limits, causing me to be in a coma in the hospital for quite a while. Emily lifted her hand, pulling me into a hug. It's snowing, Emily said, tightening her arms, not letting me break free. Edward, let me hold you a bit longer. Her voice trembled slightly. Did you ever like me? That snowy day? She kept asking the same question over and over. I closed my eyes, feeling the snow melting into water on my face. I liked her the most when she stabbed me with a knife. For years after sharing the same bed, the old wounds never healed. I did like her after marriage, but it was exhausting. Loving someone was really exhausting. Just thinking about the past she had with someone else made me inexplicably sad. I don't want to feel this way. Edward, you never liked me. She lowered her head, burying her face in my neck. Edward, you've never told me you liked me, no matter how I treated you. I was close to dying in surgery in the hospital, yet you didn't visit me once. When I was discharged, you couldn't wait to divorce me. Edward, you made me feel like a joke. Your heart seems forever unmoved. You only remember my faults. Weren't you cruel to me as well? The next day, I bought a lot of New Year goods. Emily worked at home. The festive spirit was strong in the small town. Firecrackers going off everywhere. I stood on a chair at the door to stick couplets. Looking up, I saw Emily at the second-floor window. She watched me quietly, not sure what she was thinking. On New Year's, we went to the river to set off fireworks together. Returning, it was already 10 p.m. I held a sparkler, moving forward slowly. She walked beside me, suddenly asked, the day I arrived, I heard you talking with your friend, saying you didn't like me anymore. I want to know, did you like me those years after marriage? I thought for a moment, but didn't answer her question. Emily, I was serious when I said I don't like you anymore. Over those years of marriage, I had felt moved, but those feelings gradually vanished. When you acted recklessly for Steven, making me clean up your mess. This feeling is like after a long day at work, coming home to find it wrecked by some bratty kid. And besides, I looked up, smiling. Emily, do you think I'm that foolish? Whenever, wherever, whatever you've said or done before, if you wave and say you love me, do I just have to come over and accept it? Her face suddenly went pale, trying to explain. Edward, it's not like that. Not like that. You hurt me. Didn't you? I took a step back. The sparkler in my hand just burned out. The street lights were bright, reflecting on the ground covered with snow. In high school, you said you liked me, then you cheated. Even then, you set me up to be humiliated in public, making others think I was the homewrecker. Because you were good-looking and wealthy, everyone thought I was the clingy one. Pursed my lips. Grandpa once said I might regret it in the future. Back then, I did regret it, because I thought you were pretty awful. At that time, all I did was eat, sleep, and study. My foundation was too weak, especially in language compared to kids who went to international schools since young. Even now, I still feel that period was tough. But the stuff you learn is yours to keep. Back then, I really wanted a future with Emily. After the wedding, just like you said, you treated me really well. So well that I almost believed you really loved me. But just when I was about to fall for you, you said you were just playing me. People keep making the same mistakes. Even though I knew she was no good, didn't love me, and treated our relationship like a game, I still got attached. That's how I gave her chance after chance to hurt me. You know the story of the boy who cried wolf, right? Emily's eyes suddenly reddened. I turned and walked forward. Under the streetlight, the snow looked stunningly beautiful. I'm sorry, Edward, Emily said, hurrying after me. Are we still friends? If we divorce, are we still friends? I saw the tears and confusion in her eyes, and finally, a little plea. Edward, if we divorce, does that mean nothing between us? I looked up. We're family, aren't we? She looked down, her eyelashes holding snowflakes that melted into tears on her face. She pressed her lips to my forehead. Then let's be family. Emily left after the new year, and we finalized the divorce soon after. Parting ways was the best choice for us at the time. She didn't cling on, just sent me daily updates about random things in her life. I didn't expect to run into Steven here. Turns out they picked this place for his new movie shoot. He seemed surprised to see me too. I had just gotten off work, looking a bit rough around the edges. We both knew about each other but had never formally met. He walked over, eyes smiling and a voice full of youthful energy. What should I call you? I thought for a moment you can call me Edward. Being friends with my ex-wife's first love wasn't really an option for me. But since Steven didn't know anyone else in town and was shooting here, he almost naturally started dropping by my place after work to eat and hang out. The local cuisine is pretty salty and spicy, which he wasn't used to. But after tasting my cooking, he wasn't leaving anytime soon. I spent my days learning pottery from a local master. In my free time, I'd shoot videos and post them on an overseas video app. Surprisingly, I got quite a bit of attention. One day, while Steven was happily slurping noodles, he said, "No wonder Emily liked you so much." He paused, then asked, "Why are you here alone? Did you and Emily fight?" I rested my chin in my hand and looked at him. "We divorced." "What? I thought you guys just had a fight." "I seriously thought Emily really liked you. When she got your call last time, she was so out of it she almost caused an accident. At the hospital, though she didn't say it, I felt like she was waiting for you. I thought about the call I made about our divorce when she had that car accident." Pursed my lips. Steven seemed a bit forlorn. "I've always kept up with your news. If it weren't for Emily, maybe we could have been friends." "Same here," I said, twirling my noodles, slightly absent-minded. I had kept up with Steven's news too, trying to figure out what kind of person he was. Steven and I exchanged a smile. In retrospect, the situation was kind of funny. Once his filming wrapped up, he left, and I returned to Cydia, launching a small startup with every cent I had. We developed a video app that, thanks to Steven's promotion, gained traction rapidly. He posted a 60-second video to kick things off. The app unexpectedly blew up, so I seized the opportunity and got a bunch of A-listers to join. I poured all my savings into the initial promotion. Emily even wired me a huge sum of money, her message succinctly saying, "I want dividends if it's profitable." As the app gained popularity, lots of early adopters became influencers. My tiny office blossomed into a thriving business. By the 5th anniversary, the company was stable. I hired a professional manager to take over and returned to the quaint town. I spent my days making pottery and occasionally posting videos. This too garnered quite a fan base. Because of Steven's movie, the town had become a booming tourist spot. Adding to its fame, my videos helped spotlight the place. The local government even asked if I wanted to help promote the town further. When I hit 5 million followers, Emily messaged, "Congrats." All these years, no matter what big things happened, she was always there for me. Whenever I had a significant moment, she'd be there quietly, close but not too close, respecting the right distance. I replied, "Thanks. And it's pretty great this way. We might have had some bad times, but it was never bitter enough to cut ties completely. And besides, I owed her grandfather a lot. It is what it is." Epilogue. During her stay in the little town, Emily started having frequent dreams about the past. She dreamt of a big, explosive argument at home. The house was wrecked, and her dad was on his knees before her grandpa, begging to chase true love. Emily's parents had an arranged marriage, and there was no love before or after Emily came along. Grandpa didn't approve. The divorce could get complicated, and Emily's mom was the finest daughter-in-law he could have chosen, just like he had groomed Edward. The scene was chaotic. Grandpa sat high above. Her mom stood tall by the window, silently gazing outside. Her dad was on the floor, stubborn and silent. In Grandpa's eyes, family legacy always outweighed personal feelings. "How much of that love you're talking about is just self-interest?" Grandpa sneered. "If you weren't my son, would this so-called true love still care for you? You want to talk about love now? Why did you marry in the first place? Why not rebel back then or even leave this family to seek this love on your own?" There was an absence of warmth in Grandpa's voice. "I won't let you go back on your choice. Not until I'm gone." In the end, the argument resolved nothing, and eventually they were forced apart from those they loved. Two people who absolutely couldn't stand each other got forced to stick together. They'd argue all day over silly little things. Grandpa sent them off to work in a branch office overseas. On the way there, their plane crashed unexpectedly. Both of them died, and there weren't even any remains left. They never even got a funeral. Emily remembers how she cried as she begged her grandpa. She knelt in the yard for what seemed like forever, just asking him to give them a proper cenotaph. She remembers the cold, indifferent look in his eyes. It was like her tears meant nothing to him. "Your mom and dad divorced even before leaving the country," Grandpa told her. "They made their choice. Since that day, they weren't part of the Emily family anymore." The old man bowed his head, saying, "Emily, it was their choice." That cold, heartless person in front of her. Emily's cries stopped abruptly. She shoved past him and ran off. "I hate you," she yelled. Later, Emily often wondered if things would have been different if Grandpa had just let them divorce when they wanted to. If he hadn't sent them overseas to force their relationship, maybe they wouldn't have died. Maybe she'd still have her mom and dad. She never saw any sadness in Grandpa's eyes, only anger at being defied. It felt almost comical to her. The life of his own son couldn't spark even a flicker of guilt or compassion. The pleas and cries of his own granddaughter couldn't even get her parents a decent posthumous memorial. Back then, all Emily wanted was one little cenotaph for her parents, but she couldn't even get that. Everything related to her mom and dad got packed up and tossed, leaving only a family photo of the three of them that Emily hid away. Emily resented him for it, resented his coldness and lack of empathy. Later on, Grandpa wanted her as his heir. He was strict, and his cane would always find her back when she least expected it. As she got older, she found some twisted satisfaction in defying him, especially when seeing the disappointment in his eyes. It thrilled her endlessly. She was a person, not some robot programmed to follow his path. Then one day, another person showed up in their home. It was the son of Edward's chauffeur. Edward had been attacked, and the chauffeur saved him, getting seriously injured in the process. He didn't have any family but a middle schooler left behind. He pleaded with Edward to look after his son after he passed. The first time Emily met him, he had short hair with soft bangs and a delicate, almost porcelain-like look, with gentle, serene eyes. Grandpa told her to treat him well and not to bully him. It was the only time she didn't defy Grandpa. He was so cautious, carsick all the time. He'd get sick from staying in a closed space for too long but chose to sit quietly in the corner of the car. So Emily used her bike to take him to school every day. He was scared of falling but never grabbed tightly, just a little pinch of her shirt. He had this quiet, composed demeanor and took bullying without complaint. Emily had scolded all his bullies and couldn't help but feel a pang for this lonely kid. She knew Edward cried quietly at night. His dad had just died, and now he was in an unfamiliar place, bullied with no one in his corner. She got mad at him for not standing up for himself and gave him a real earful, but he just looked up at her and smiled, as carefree as he could be. "It's all right," he said. "They didn't hit me. A few words can't hurt me." Eventually, Emily realized he held back to avoid getting a bad rep with Grandpa. So he endured what he could. Back then, Emily didn't realize that feeling sorry for someone is the first step to falling for them. Later, she found him kinda cute. The way he solved problems, the tomato noodles he made, how he ran, and how he smiled. Just him standing there lifted her spirits. But as time went on, Edward started to act more and more like Grandpa, keeping everything under wraps. Emily could no longer see through his eyes into his heart. One afternoon, Grandpa praised Edward, eyes full of approval. "Edward's smart, suits you well. Together, you'll be a strong team." Emily rarely heard Grandpa speak so highly of anyone, but the way he saw Edward was like assessing a valuable item ready to sell. Why Edward? Because he was kind, grateful, and a lonely boy who could be easily influenced by Grandpa, serving the family without fear of betrayal. Seeing Grandpa's satisfaction, Emily grinned. "You think I'll be like my parents and let you just do whatever?" Watching Edward take every direction from Grandpa, turning into the perfect potential head of the family, she felt a pang of betrayal. They were supposed to be together. Her admiration for him soured. She even thought she hated him at that point. So she ended their first relationship in the nastiest way she could think of. But Edward stayed unfazed, just watching her with those calm, gentle eyes. He didn't cry, didn't scream, as if her antics were of no significance, making her antics seem like clownery. "All right, Emily," he said, "let's break up." Emily watched him walk away and felt a bit cynical. Maybe Edward never really liked her. Maybe she was just a stepping stone for him to climb the family ladder. After all, it's pretty much impossible for a poor kid to break through social class barriers. Grieving over Edward, the old man loosened his grip on Emily's life. She moved out and started dating Stephen. He was charming, vibrant, passionate, and shared her interests. After high school graduation, being with Stephen was one of the rare times she felt a sense of freedom. She chose the same college as Stephen. Those 5 years, she hardly ever saw Edward. Just occasionally heard his name pop up. Heard he got scholarships, left for overseas studies, raked in awards here and abroad. A resume so impressive it was unbelievable. Holidays, they'd cross paths. Edward would just sit quietly on the side, listening to people talk, eyes never meeting hers. He had changed so much, learned to wear suits and ties. His short hair always perfectly styled. The old shyness long gone, replaced by poise. The only constant was those serene, gentle eyes. Later on, Grandpa forced her to marry Edward. He used Stephen's company as leverage to make him leave the country. It was the first time she realized it. She found it kind of funny. The same trick that worked on her parents was being used on her. The exact same scenario was happening to her. She chased Stephen abroad, but they broke up overseas. "I can't risk my family being suppressed just to be with you, Emily. We're not kids anymore. If love was enough, why's the divorce rate so high? Besides, you don't love me that much, do you? Who's sneaking around online checking out who's the top graduates?" "Huh?" Emily asked him. "Then why are you with me?" He waved the bracelet in his hand. "Oh please, you're rich, generous, good-looking. Dating you is a huge win for me." They fell silent. The wind by the river messed up their hair. Emily broke the silence. "I'm sorry about my grandpa. I apologize on his behalf. It's fine. I get it. Plus, it's just a few years abroad. No big deal. I've made a fool of myself overseas but haven't kissed anyone foreign yet." Emily couldn't help but chuckle a bit when she heard that. Then, she saw Stephen just shrug and smile. "See? I can say that and you won't get mad. Everyone says we're a match, but all these years we've never really been like a couple. I just happen to like the same stuff you did, which gave you the wrong idea." Emily denied it. "What kind of twisted logic is that? You just like me, but you don't love me. Liking is just a feeling you can have for anyone. But loving someone makes you jealous of everything around them that has nothing to do with you, especially when it involves another woman. You don't love me, so goodbye, Emily." They broke up without any fighting or bitterness. It was as calm as any regular day. Emily didn't even feel sad. When she left, she saw someone unexpected. Even though the years had passed, she recognized her mom immediately, the one rumored to have died in a plane crash years ago. She seemed to be with another family now. There was a boy who seemed about 14 or 15, and a little girl around 5 or 6. She heard the boy call the woman mommy. Standing outside the glass, Emily saw the family of 3, and her eyes turned red. She could hardly breathe. Inside, the woman looked up but didn't recognize her. Emily wasn't sure how she left. She returned to her temporary place and called her grandpa. "Did you know Dad's still alive?" There was silence for a few seconds. Emily was on edge, like a criminal awaiting the final verdict, so she didn't notice the frailness in the old man's voice. Back then, her parents both had their own lovers. After their divorce, they were afraid that their lovers would get dragged into it all. Her mom especially feared her family would get caught up in it. So they planned their fake deaths to escape the marriage, leaving behind their names and family. They did it flawlessly. If it wasn't for an unusual asset transfer, Grandpa might have been fooled too. When he learned the truth, relief was his first reaction, followed by overwhelming anger. Seeing Emily cry in front of him, pleading to erect a memorial for her parents, he didn't know what to say. He banished them from the family and told them never to appear before Emily. He pretended they had no daughter. As for Emily, she should believe they were already dead. Now Emily understood why Grandpa never revealed the truth. How can you explain that your parents don't want you and never thought of you? On the other end of the line, the old man's voice was gentle. "Emily, don't be sad for people who aren't worth it. Grandpa will give the best to our Emily." Emily didn't know Grandpa was gravely ill. She thought, like every other time, he'd pull through just fine. That day she got terribly drunk until Edward found her. Emily suddenly felt some anger. She wasn't sure what she was mad about. She said, "I'll never marry you." Edward looked at her pained face, calmly weighing the pros and cons with her. Not long after she married Edward, Grandpa passed away. After they dealt with everything, before they even had time to fully grieve, they got right back to work. Emily didn't expect it to be so hard. She suddenly regretted not listening to Grandpa before because now she was stumbling around. Edward patiently taught her everything. During that time, Emily could sense a deep exhaustion in him, almost radiating from his soul. He was more mature and collected than he was years ago. He was decisive, always able to come up with the quickest and best solutions, minimizing losses. But he was too logical, always thinking about the potential losses in any situation. Later, her uncle tried to drug her to create a scandal. When she woke up, Edward was beside her, sleeping peacefully, his hair all messy. She blushed. It was her first time. Edward seemed unfazed, just explaining last night's events systematically. In short, it was all an accident. She knew it was an accident, knew she was kind of half coercing, half tempting him into sleeping with her, but she wasn't happy with how casual he was about it. Edward was always so detached, never showing any passionate emotions, but she couldn't warm his heart up, even if he'd smile at her. Emily met her own needs and would sometimes unconsciously rely on herself, but she couldn't feel Edward's love for her. Later on, Edward got sick. His health was really bad. All his levels were off. He was in a coma at the hospital. Emily felt a wave of panic again. She wasn't religious, but after work, she rushed to that temple everyone said was powerful. The mountain was steep with long stairs, with only the streetlights to accompany her. She thought to herself, maybe if she was a bit more sincere, then more sincere Edward would be safe. All she wanted was for him to be safe. Then, after Edward got better and was discharged, one day she got a call meant for Edward. "Edward, you've got a checkup scheduled for next week," the doctor said. "Could you come in earlier for a full body exam?" Emily felt like she was thrown into an icy pit. She hung up the phone and felt a bit mocked by everything she'd done over the past 2 years. She once thought she could win over his heart. She thought maybe, just maybe, Edward liked her even a little bit. But he didn't like her enough to even tell her he was sick. Even if this incident hadn't happened, he wouldn't have told her. Edward wasn't interested in letting her know about it. It reminded her of her parents' pretense of death, a decision considering everything except her. Just because they didn't love her because she didn't matter. So her feelings weren't important. Emily put down her phone. Edward came out of the bathroom, looking calm, his arms pale and slender, only wearing that watch he always had on. "Where's the safety charm I got for you?" Emily asked. "I put it away," Edward replied, lips pursed and eyes cast down softly. He didn't notice Emily's slightly cold gaze. Emily realized that maybe Edward really didn't love her. This realization drove her crazy. No matter how she behaved, Edward didn't seem to care. She was cold to him and he was cold back. He always seemed calm, not even sparing a glance at her. She showed interest in other men, behaving out of control like she was creating drama. But Edward just cleaned up the messes she left behind over and over again. She felt like she was going mad. She wished Edward would argue with her, even if he hit her or yelled at her. Anything but this nothingness. She faked being drunk and said some hurtful things. But through her intoxicated haze, she saw his ever-indifferent face. Emily suddenly felt like a fool, like a clown. It seemed like when she liked him and treated him well, he just accepted it. And when she stopped liking him, he didn't care. She tried to rip off his facade of indifference, only to find he truly didn't care. He even wanted a divorce. Emily pulled herself from her thoughts. Downstairs was Edward, carefully putting up spring couplets with his cooperatively soft demeanor. Yet, in the business world, he was famously tough. She recalled what others said about him. A little Red Riding Hood face with the cunning of a big bad wolf. Suddenly, she remembered her grandfather's call. She thought she finally understood what was best. They ended up getting divorced. Emily's trust had been exhausted over the years, making Edward wary. Emily knew that even if they stayed together now, it would be just like before. She didn't want him troubled by it anymore, so she didn't cling to him. There was always one step separating them, then another. There were too many wounds that hadn't healed. It would take time, the best medicine. As long as he wasn't with someone else, she could wait forever. Emily thought this confidently. Outside the window, the city sparkled with lights. She lifted her phone, took a picture of the night scene, and sent it to Edward. Yeah, she kinda missed him.